I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Charlie Robinson. I've got great upcoming guests, John O'Connor, Brownell Landrum, Paranoid American, and Charles Ross. Be on the lookout for those. Check out my films. Occult Louisiana's on Tubi. Doors of Perception is on Amazon Prime. I am booking guests for June. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show Charlie Robinson. He is an author, researcher, host of Macroaggressions, owner of Activist Post, and co-host on Day Zero podcast. Charlie, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm weird. I'm doing weird. It's weird out there.
It is weird, and it is good to have your weird ass back on. We're going to get weird today. It seems that we can't really hold on to any cultural movement that has the potential to benefit humanity. Of course, there was the hippie counterculture movement that was quickly co-opted and weaponized. And then when I was growing up, I considered myself a punk rocker. I aligned with the anti-government and anti-corporate messages associated. But then in the mid-90s, Green Day's Dookie hit the mainstream, and it was all downhill from there. Fast forward to 2013, I started to wake up in 2012 to many aspects of the hidden reality. I started FKN, and I'm not sure exactly when or how, but conspiracy culture was then compromised. It's really difficult to navigate the world we're in, and I'm not sure where to go from here. Not sure what's happened, if there really ever was baseline reality. We'll get into all that today. How have you been, brother?
I've been good. I've been writing a lot, and that it's a bit of a time warp. You can go into, as Whitney Webb calls it, the writing cave. She said that to me one day, and I was like, oh, she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't get back to you. I've been in the writing cave. And I was like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've never heard it referred to as that. But there was in the summer of 24, I wrote for 7 weeks straight. And as soon as it ended, as soon as I was basically writing up until the very end, where I was going to pick up Cory, and we were going down to Pueblo for the Third Eye Carnival. And so that was the summer of 24. And so I'd come off of a 7-week writing bender. Some people wind up in a hotel room shooting heroin for 7 weeks, and it all goes off the rails. For me, it's I'm in a room, just writing, rewriting, writing it again. I didn't like that, over and over again, trying to find the perfect way to talk about some of the worst, most horrible things that are happening right now out there in the world, which is eugenics and depopulation. And it's sort of it's sort of a thread that runs through a lot of the work that you've done over the years, that I've done. When you talk about world government in any way, you eventually come up to the sort of the feeling that these guys think, well, this world government would be a lot easier if it wasn't for all these people. So how do we get rid of all these people? And so that's what I've been doing. I write for a while, pull my head up, go hang out with Cory for a few days, get back to it. And so I've had to take some breaks throughout the year. So I've been writing this book for 3 years. I'm handing it to the editor today. I'm done. And then I'm taking a break for a couple weeks.
Well, congratulations, man. We'll definitely have to have you back on to discuss after it hits the airwaves.
September 11th, 25th anniversary of September 11th is when it's coming out.
Right. Oh, that's a good date. Not a good date, but it's a good date to release this.
Yeah.
What are your observations about everything? What I mentioned in my intro, the state of conspiracy culture, the madness we are swimming through?
State of the conspiracy culture has been something I've been focusing on. We've got, there's a term for it. David Icke called them mainstream alternative media. And I just thought, it's perfect. There's a conspiracy component to that, because the line between what is news and what is conspiracy theory is kind of murky. A lot of what is conspiracy theory is really just conspiracy analysis. It's very real. The news would like to paint it as something, fringe, but it's not. And so it's probably no surprise that the mainstream news tactics is also bleeding into the conspiracy world. We're watching as like the traditional corporate news, the CNNs, the MSNBCs, Fox News is, like viewership is down for, maybe Fox is up, but the other one's viewership is way down. And they've made this decision that the eyeballs aren't the boomers and the recliners watching television sets. It's now like a younger, that 25 to 54 demographic that they want, they're online. And so the messaging has changed. You start to get this next tier of CIA influencers, Sean Ryans of the world, the people that have the podcasts that come out of nowhere but are flying guests in.
Yeah.
And, it's a lot of money to do something like that. And you go, okay, well, that's great. I mean, I'm not saying don't spend money on your podcast. I'm just saying that when you're ex-CIA and then all of a sudden you've got this show that's popular for no reason, and Sean Ryan, in my opinion, is a pretty dull host. I don't see there's other guys that are more interesting.
Yeah.
But magically he's like very popular.
Yeah.
It's narrative. It's narrative management. And so you go, okay, well now there's been a pivot to the news can't look like the news anymore. It's got to look like something else. It's got to look like Anderson Cooper rolling up his sleeves and we're filming it. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that like CNN has done. It's like podcast. They want it to look podcast quality, right? So it's not Anderson Cooper on the $1 million soundstage. He's in his office. He's got his sleeves rolled up and his ties, and he's just spitballing, and they're just bullshitting. And you look at that and you go, there's 3 cameras. There's a producer over that guy's shoulder. I know that. There's a line editor. There's somebody doing. This isn't organic. This is just the next version of Mockingbird. And so
no, come look at my little room where I'm in with my 2 shitty lights and my webcam right here and tell me what we're working with here.
I could set, if Anderson Cooper wants to set up a shitty studio in his office, I'm more than qualified to do that for him.
Right.
But because why they do that is because the authenticity is in places that aren't quite $1 million studios.
Yeah.
The content is better. The production quality.
They're hijacking authenticity
by shitting up their own production quality, not by bringing in facts, not by doing research, not by doing any of that. They're only, what they're doing is they're taking their beautiful multi-million-dollar set and shitting all over it to make themselves look poor like us and doing podcasts. And so because that way you'll at least think that the information is not compromised and not brought to you by Pfizer, even though it's totally brought to you by Pfizer. So you got to be aware of it. That's all I'm saying. David Icke was right. We talked about that a little bit at Anarchapulco when I was interviewing him, but also later that day, my presentation was on the rise of the independent media. It's Us Activist Post, which I bought in 2025, coming in and showing these assholes how to do it.
At the same time, you have this mainstream conspiracy movement rolling out. You have the old guard theatrics that become so shitty that it doesn't even seem like they're trying to make it believable what they're presenting as high impact events or real news stories or Artemis space launches or Admiral Howard with a fucking mask on his face telling us that it's just a shadow or artifact from the camera. The theatrics have gone off the rails. It's like they don't even care if we know they're showing us bullshit anymore.
I don't know if we should be I don't know if we should be thrilled about that or terrified.
What does it mean?
because on the one hand, if they don't even bother if they're not even putting their makeup on anymore, they're not even trying. You know what I mean? Then
Did you see the Admiral Howard on Fox
is.
News with
Yeah. So you see that and you go, okay, so it's sloppy. It's the JV team. We laugh at that, and we should mock it and point it and say, see, they're making up the news, Operation Mockingbird, the whole thing, real life masks, you know. But then after you get done explaining that to some newbie, you have to simultaneously say, now you may be watching that and you may be terrified because you're seeing that there's a possibility that there's a guy wearing a mask. I'm watching that and I'm terrified because, to me, I now recognize that they don't even care if you know.
Yeah.
That they don't even intend.
And it's still going to gaslight you through the news reports that try and explain it away.
I consider myself a bit of a propaganda snob, and I'm sure, Chris, you do as well. We demand higher quality psychological operations than this dog shit that we've been seeing. This is not the Operation Gladio of your grandparents. You know, this is something else. This is like, say what you want, but at least they had the decency to put on a show in Newtown, Connecticut. You know what I mean? These days, it's like, it's kind of half-assed, it's kind of half-baked. You know, when you point out the flaws in the Artemis launch, when you point out the flaws in the Blue Origin launch and all of that, their response is there is no response. They just let the news cycle run for 48 hours and it's off, and you're talking about something else. They never explained any of the anomalies with Blue Origin. You remember how, like, the opening the latch and everything? Yeah. It's nonsense. You didn't send those ding-dongs to outer space. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. It didn't happen. And yet nobody's they're not even giving a explanation anymore. They're not even bothering. I don't know, man. It's sloppy. And that's simultaneous. It's a little of both. It's simultaneously good news because you can send it to your normies who never really want to believe you, but they see that mask and it's like, well, then you tell me what's going on, man. And they go, well, fuck, I don't know. I can't give you an answer.
I'm at the point where
it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But also, like, isn't that kind of like what Frank Zappa was saying in his quote, like, there will come a time at which the lie becomes too expensive to maintain and they will pull down the drapes and you will see the brick wall. That's kind of like the problem, is that we might be there. We're like looking at the brick wall. You know what I mean?
I'm at the point where everything is fake until proven gay. I have no idea what's real anymore. But this administration seems to be setting up mini soap opera performances through the mainstream media. For example, this recent assassination attempt. What was the purpose of this? It was so obviously staged. They have so many problems with the logistics of this. But why even put that out there? What's the purpose of that?
You know, sometimes while I'm getting myself all pissed off and fired up about the low quality production of all these ops, I have to remind myself that I don't know that every message is for me. I think that maybe some of this is like, keep in mind, like we're used to this. Like we have a background in this. Like we understand it. But like, if most people don't. Most people, this is like the first time they're hearing about any of this stuff, or it's conspiracy theory has always been kind of off limits. So for some people, like, for some people right now is the first time they've ever really asked themselves the question, like, am I being lied to? Am I being lied to by my media? I think I just got lied to over the last couple of years by the pharmaceutical industry about a medical procedure that they wanted me to take. I think I'm being lied to about a lot of things. I think I'm being lied to about men can get pregnant and nobody's coming across the border, and Joe Biden is in perfect health and Donald Trump is in perfect health, and you know, all these things. And I think for some people out there, they're probably just finally starting to ask some basic questions, like, what if everything that the media tells me is actually not true? Good. Like, I'm glad people are starting to think about this stuff. I mean, what took you so long? But like, keep going. It's not just the media that's lying to you. It's everybody. And this notion that, like, oh, what? So everybody's in on it? Yeah, as a matter of fact, everybody is in on it, dummy. They've been in on it for fucking generations. Why aren't you paying attention? Why can't you see it? They are, in fact, all in on it. You know, you know, like, we're all in on it with Santa. You know how we can pull that shit off for generations and keep it a secret because our interests align, and it does us. There's a reason why we want to keep that information quiet. And one day the bigger picture will be explained to you, but you don't need to know now about Santa, right? So yeah, they're all in on it. And so I think there's I don't know about you, and you might have noticed, but my patience is getting thinner and thinner because it feels like it's so obvious now. Like, I get it. If 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't see it. It was different. Like, it was harder to see. But now, if you can't see the rampant fuckery that is happening, that's intentional, I mean, like, you know, if you can't see it, it's because you don't want to see it. And if you don't want to see it, then get out of my way, man, because you're an obstacle at this point. And we don't need obstacles. We got enough problems.
Now, there are a few things that are giving me hope. I don't scroll through social media really at all. I use it to post my show and promote my work. Every once in a while, I'll be caught in a little scroll loop for a few minutes. During that short amount of time, I've noticed that the ratio of people's reactions to ridiculous propaganda posts like hantavirus is making its way around, or the one I saw the other day, why are so many young people dying of stroke and heart attack now? I go look at the comments. All the comments are like, really? The elephant in the room, the jab, the jab, the jab, like all the comments. Everybody's laughing at the ridiculous. I saw one New York Times or some bullshit post that was spewing propaganda. It had something like 1,000 laugh reactions compared to just a couple hundred thumbs up, a couple hundred hearts. Everybody's laughing at the bullshit, which does give me a little bit of hope that they are seeing through that a bit.
I think that's how you win, frankly. Wouldn't it be funny if the way you defeat the massive propaganda empire is with memes and busting their balls? Because they can't take it and they can't give it out. Whenever they try to get funny and they try to get, like, you know, clever on social media, like, I don't know, as an example, the White House or those groups or politicians, they just get fucking dunked on left, right, and center, which is perfect. I know it's difficult to shame somebody who has no shame. These politicians deserve it, though. They need to be mocked relentlessly. They need to be told to leave restaurants. You get the fuck out of this restaurant. You sent all our money to Israel. You should not be. You should not get the privilege of walking in this restaurant around the people that you supposedly represent. Get you and your fat wife and get the fuck out of this restaurant. And you do that everywhere they go. And, you know, look, it's not going to change things, but it's what they deserve. They should have anxiety for the rest of their life. They should never feel comfortable for the rest of their life. And I don't mean physically assault them. I would not advocate for that, because then you get into some weird, then you play their game where they can get the state involved and it's a whole thing. So you never want to do that. But you want to make sure that they know that you know that they're full of shit. And you tell them that every chance you get. I don't know if you know this or not, Chris, but I set the North American record for the fastest argument with TSA this year. I did it. It was 4:45 in the morning, January 1st of this year. I was screaming at this guy at the TSA, explaining to him, do I have to explain to you what optional means? Optional, optional, optional. I was pointing at each of the signs in front of each of the terminals that say optional for the camera. I was making a fucking scene, and I never do that. My wife and daughter knew that was going to happen, and they have clear. I don't do clear. I don't do the scan. I make them do the pat down, and I go in for a fight every time. And I want that guy to go after his shift. I want him to think about quitting his job. That is my goal whenever I interact with the TSA. So again, like, there's ways to win. Mock them, humiliate them, shame them if you can. Make them second guess their choices. You work for the TSA, you work for the enemy, as far as I'm concerned. You're anti-human, you're anti-American, you enforce the Patriot Act, which is the most unpatriotic thing imaginable. You've never caught a terrorist. You're hired based on how low your scores are. I got that in my first book. They don't, in a chapter called Black and Blue and Dumb All Over, about the TSA. So, like, make these people feel it. Make them squirm, make them feel shitty about this stuff. When you see politicians out like that, Nancy Pelosi should never be allowed to have a peaceful dinner in public ever again. The fact that people don't boo her out of every restaurant is we're doing it completely wrong.
Yeah. 100%.
We just are. We just need to bring back shaming and guilt and humiliation and stop being led by retards. I mean, have you seen every mayor of Baltimore, every mayor of Chicago over the last 50 years? One dummy after the next. Well, the exception of Mayor Daley, I suppose. But everyone after him was functionally retarded and illiterate. So,
well, if the recent Thomas Massey loss hasn't taught us anything else we need to know about rigged voting, are we still going to go out there and waste our time on this ridiculousness?
No, you can't. No, you're not going to change it. We saw what happened with Massey, and to be fair, Thomas Massey has problems too. Like, nobody's free from this. There's degrees, and he's the best, I would say, but he's not. You make a deal with the devil to take that job anyway. So, but vote? No, you can't vote your way out of this. You have to do what's best for you, your friends, your family, the people close to you. You have to position yourself. You have to live in a country first and foremost, but locally, wherever you are, there's certain things you just cannot control. And so you're going to be able to control, for the most part, where you live. And if you can control that, then you got to put yourself in a position that's just not around all these people. You're not going to be able to fix them. Like, what happens, the trend that's been going on that started in 2020 with the downtowns evaporating, these doom loops, these economic catastrophes where you build a downtown based on a certain amount of occupancy in the offices, and then you have COVID, and then nobody goes to the offices, and then the dry cleaners and the groceries, the little mini marts and all those things down in the ground level of the high-rise building, they all go out of business. Nobody's coming into the city anymore, and it starts to deteriorate. You add in Democrat mayors, which all these cities have on top of that, it just accelerates everything. So if you're living in one of those cities, what are you going to do? Stop the tsunami that's coming your way? Like, you really can't do it. You have to get honest with it. I mean, you can acknowledge it's there and see that it's a problem. But if you're a reasonable, rational human being living in downtown San Francisco right now, like, I feel bad for you. You have to relocate. You have to change your setting, man. You are stuck. in a situation that is not going to get better on a time frame that'll work for anybody. I mean, we're talking decades. San Francisco is a catastrophe. Los Angeles, I lived there for 20 years. It is unrecognizable. Right. You know, and it's intentional. So like, if you want to fix the problems, you know, like, you know, you and I are pretty good about like laughing about it and like joking about like how bad things have gotten. And we're not making light of it, but it's like, it, you know, you kind of have to laugh at how crazy it is. But like, if you don't then also remove yourself from the problem, then it's kind of on you. Like if you live in LA, like I had to leave California. I'll tell you why I left California because of SB 277, mandatory vaccination bill for my daughter who was starting preschool that year when it got passed. I was like, no, we're not doing this. So is it unfair that I had to leave? Yeah, it's unfair that I had to leave. But what am I going to do? Stay, fight that system and do that? I didn't see a path for that. I saw nothing but me getting down that road and having to fake certificates, which I'd gladly do, for vaccination credentials or something, all the way through. It just went, no way. We moved to Colorado because of it. So like sometimes you have to recognize when that is a battle that cannot be won, and that's part of being strategic. I mean, like not everything is a battle you run head first into, you know, especially when it's against the state. You have to go, that's a monster I can't beat. I mean, you can weaken it, right? But in my personal situation, I was not going to defeat that bill. So I had to move and adjust accordingly. So
if you believe what the alternative media is presenting now, even if you move to rural country areas, you have to worry about engineered ticks that will give you a meat allergy if bitten. I haven't seen personally any evidence of this. I don't know anyone who's been afflicted by the tick meat allergy or been bitten by ticks in general, although I do see the people posting the videos of the little ticks chasing them around. They look pretty aggressive, look pretty real to me. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is just another fear campaign, or is there really something behind the engineered ticks?
Oh, there's really something behind it. There's a guy on the World Economic Forum panel. I don't know his name, but he was a small Asian guy in his 30s, I'm going to say, who was adamantly pushing for these ticks to be released to change our behavior patterns towards meat. But no, basically what he was saying was, since we can't change some people's behavior patterns towards meat, we'll release these ticks and that'll do it for us. And it's like,
fucking psychos.
Yeah. And so like, how come that guy's not being dragged down off the stage and dragged down to the police station and interrogated for that? You know what I mean? Like that guy is every bit as dangerous as some lunatic on Reddit saying, I'm going to shoot the president, right? You know what I mean? That guy is advocating for them to, without consent, poison people so that they can't eat meat. I don't know if I need to go back into the histories of like what the old English serfs look like before and after they had meat. It changed their entire body, like grows well, listen, just the difference between North and South Korea. There you go. Yeah. Like that's the difference between a culture that does not eat meat and a culture that does. So they're intentionally trying to poison you to weaken you. So that if a guy is up there advocating for that, he might as well be online saying that he's going to go run into a school with a machine gun. I mean, it's the same thing to me.
Yeah, man. Do you know anyone who's at least seen any of these ticks?
No, I don't. I mean, look, we know about Plum Island. We know about the old, we know that was engineered. Lyme disease was engineered at Plum Island. And so anybody who's got Lyme disease is already a victim of a government created bioengineered tick disease.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you conspiracy theorists with your ideas. Hey, dipshit, they've already done it once. Do you want them to do it again? Like,
Yeah.
This isn't, we're not asking, do you think the government would do this? They've already done it. We've established that decades ago. The question is, are they currently doing it? Again.
You mentioned the guy on the World Economic Forum who it was his idea to release these or to engineer ticks to give people meat allergies and how he should be instantly thrown under the jail or executed. Yeah. Well, look at just some of the small bits of information that we got from the Epstein files is more than enough to at least start dozens of investigations on these pedophilic monsters. But is that happening? Hell no, not at all. In fact, most of it's already in the memory hold. I don't hear anyone else talking about the Epstein files anymore.
Again, that feels like a psychological campaign in and of itself. It's
demoralization.
Like, demoralization. Hey, we've got all these files. We're going to release it and show you that all these people that you know are dangerous pedophiles who do unspeakable things to children, maybe even eat them and drink their blood. Then we're not going to do anything about it. So what does that do in the aftermath? Like, it's where we are now. We're discussing how do we feel about that? Well, we don't feel great. I mean, you kind of know, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for you, but if all of a sudden anybody on that list was held accountable, I would be completely surprised. I'd be shocked. My default is set that nobody's going to get prosecuted for that. Not a single person, not a high level person, maybe some low level person, or somebody will get on the wrong side of somebody and they'll say, fucking give him that guy. And then give him Prince Andrew. Fuck that guy. He's awful.
Yeah.
And they just go, okay, fine. They're like, well, we don't have any love for him. Yeah, he's worthless as a three-legged cat. You know what I mean? Like, let's give him to the press. Let them have
I'm pretty sure all the people that we know their faces are of that stature. They are disposable if necessary.
You would think so. Yeah. But some more so than others.
Yeah.
But when even the disposable ones aren't held accountable, that's part of the demoralization campaign. Right. When it's like you could take a Bill Gates who's at the end of his career in eugenics, and you could sacrifice him for the cult, right? To give him to the people, right? We're gonna prosecute Bill Gates and try him, hang him, whatever. I don't know, make something up. You could theoretically do that. You could take a half a dozen of them and do that. It wouldn't impact the cult at all. And yet they don't. They still don't. And that's because it's like they don't really have to. They don't really care if you know. They don't have much, because look, either you know and you're not going to do anything about it, or you don't know and you're not going to do anything about it. So either way works fine for them. They'd prefer, but again, like, the way I see it, and I'm not trying to give these guys any pointers or anything, but the way I see it is like, why don't you just invest a little bit more time and make sure the guy with the mask isn't showing? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Like, because that's an unforced error. Why don't you threaten Fox and say, pull that fucking clip off? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, we had a malfunction or something. Make it go away. They didn't do any of that. So it's like, they're not even trying their hardest, and that is kind of demoralizing too. You're like, God, do I have to get out of here? Do I have to do everything for this? Is how you psychologically traumatize the people. You do it so they don't know that the guy's wearing a mask, and no, but they can't.
I was speaking with my guest yesterday, Guy Anderson. He thinks that the reason they are letting all this just go and the psyops are so shitty is because we're on the verge of a mass reset, that they don't think it matters anymore because they're about to pull the trigger on something that's going to wipe out a lot of people.
I've considered that as well. And that is it's the one thing you don't want to consider, right? I mean, you're like, yeah, you almost have to, you go, why aren't you working so hard? Why aren't you investing the time and resources and energy to do this right. And it might, it's how you would, theoretically, it's how you would behave if you knew it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't matter, then you have to ask, why doesn't it matter? Does it not matter because you know that we won't do anything about it? Or does it matter because you guys are all about to go underground for the next year? And we're about to get hit with some sort of pole shift or some sort of magnetic storm or some fucking comet comes. I don't know. I mean, whatever. But it like in retrospect, if someone were to pull us aside and say, okay, in 2030, there's a massive pole shift. It does this, this, and this. This is 1000% going to happen. Now, does the world make sense? That you'd look back at it and you go, well, yeah, I guess it's some of these, like, now does it make sense that we're not trying to pay back the debt? Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. Now, does it make sense that they're not trying to do a bullet train to anywhere in the US? Now, does it make sense that they're not investing money in our infrastructure or any of that stuff? You go, yeah, I guess, yeah, maybe that would make a little bit more sense.
Well, on the other hand of that, it could be that they are just crumbling the old systems so that they can install the new technocratic surveillance slave state.
Well, that's definitely what the AI data centers are about. And I just talked to Hakeem Anwar from Take Back Our Tech and Above Phone, and he has a AI data center map.org, I think. And man, it's a here, let me see. AI data center map.org is what it's called. Interactive map that you can just zoom in on wherever you are, and it'll show you where the data centers are. It maps all the aqueducts. It maps all the power plants. It maps the high tension power lines. And what Hakeem was saying is that you can look on the map and see where all these data centers are going or where they're scheduled to go, but you can also predict where they're going to go based on, do they have the aqueduct? Do they have the high tension power lines? Do they have access to the power? Are they in a county that so he's building this really interactive map that people can mess around with and see who's building what in their area. And he said he's gotten pretty good at determining where they're going to go just based on, like, if it's got water, if it's got power, if it's got cable lines nearby, and it has a government that has shown a tendency to do something like this in the past, or it's in some sort of, like, depending on the sort of county, he's like, they're going to get a data center and it's probably going to go there. Like, he can kind of figure it out. So,
as it relates to data centers, is it time for some V for Vendetta stuff going on?
Well, that's the thing about data centers. It's hard to pick them up and just move them, right?
Right.
So you kind of know where they are, and you can buy commercial drones,
right?
Like on Amazon. I'm just saying, like, the idea that
it's definitely time for something. We are reaching a point where it's getting to past the point of no return.
Yeah, I'm just saying that. Look, I'm not saying go do this. I'm just saying that if you understand the psychology of people who are feeling entrapped, they will find a way to push back. And in a place, if they feel they're being enslaved in a digital prison, and they perceive, whether rightly or wrongly, a data center as being a component of that digital prison, or a power station as being part of it, they're going to take them out at some point, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when. Like, where is that line in the sand? And, look, we all watch Red Dawn. we know what happens. Like, theoretically, what happens, you get a group of people that say, fuck it, I'm not going down without a fight. That's in any country, in any culture, throughout time and space, right? There's always going to be a certain group of people that say, this is not looking good for us. But before we just hand ourselves over to die, let's take a couple of them out with us. Maybe it's the enemy, maybe it's the enemy's bridges, maybe it's the enemy's castles, maybe it's the enemy's horses, maybe it's whatever it is. You start to plot guerrilla tactics. And if you've got a massive data center sitting there humming, cooking the DNA of your children for multiple generations, anybody who lives nearby, at some point, someone's going to say, hey, why don't we go take that thing out, right? That doesn't require me having this brainstorm, right? That's just human nature, and that's how it's going to go. So these people need to be careful with that. The work that Halcame has done is fantastic on locating ownership structures of who owns these facilities as well. So you want to sort of see where you can push back in your local community. This is one of the places where you actually do have a little bit of say with your local government, if you can get your local government to be against this. But we've seen some of the footage from those meetings, and it's crazy. It's like the town hall where everybody shows up to protest against the data center going in there, and then they take the vote, and everybody sitting on the panel votes in favor of it, and everybody in the crowd boos them, and then they run out the back door.
Yeah.
You go,
because they've been paid off.
That? Is that what we're doing? Like that, like, I'll tell you exactly how that ends. That ends with those 9 people, the people showing up at their houses with torches and pitchforks and them getting hanged from the lampposts. That's how that shit ends. Okay. So these people need to be very careful about doing deals with the devil with AI data centers and shit like that, because the most dangerous thing is a group of stupid people that are angry.
Right.
And if you get a bunch of people that are pissed off and fired up about stuff like that on a local level, and they actually know who you are, there's actually a little bit of accountability on the local level. You know who that guy is. You probably went to school with his kids or something. And like, that guy's on the city council that made the decision. He's a person you can talk to and say, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And if enough people do that, then things change, because they're being compensated by somebody. They're being paid a lot of money by somebody for doing this. It's the only way to do. That's the only way you get everybody in unity. They can't vote. They can't agree on jack shit. They all magically agree on the data centers.
Well, you can't wait too long for resistance, because those robot police dogs are being developed as we speak. They probably already have more drones than you could ever imagine that are associated with law enforcement ready to be deployed. But looking at some of the other events that have unfolded, like the COVID operation, looking back, that was probably the most success that they will have with a pandemic fear operation. Because I'm looking at what they're trying to push with hantavirus and Ebola, and everybody's just laughing their asses off. Nobody is taking any of that seriously. I don't think that they're going to be able to get that one off the ground. I'm hoping that enough people who experienced COVID have learned something from it.
And I really hope that's the case, because here's what's going on behind the scenes legally, is that the World Health Organization is trying to take control of the world from a supranational level by being in charge during pandemics. So the fact that people are going to be hesitant about the next pandemic is a great thing, because that's the Achilles heel that they've had. That was the one thing that the United Nations figured out. They couldn't do world government because it requires, troops on the ground, and that's too costly and too bloody. But they could maybe do world governance and control from a policy level. And the best way to do that without it looking like you're trying to form a world government is to do it with the health angle, the health component of the United Nations, which is the World Health Organization. So we're not trying to start a world government. We're here trying to save you with the World Health Organization. But the thing is, the policy that they were trying to push through, and it's failed twice in the US, but they're going to try it again. The policy they were trying to push forward was, whenever there's a global pandemic, the World Health Organization gets to make the call on that. Once they decide that it classifies itself and technically becomes a global pandemic, then the laws of your country literally do not apply. The World Health Organization takes control. It is an emergency. They are under an emergency use. There is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom of movement. There is no freedom to an attorney. There is no freedom to any of that. All of the laws of the Constitution are superseded by this document. They've tried to pass that. This is the reason why, even in America, as captured as America is, on 2 different occasions, Congress was like, no way. We're not doing that because they lose their power. But that's how it's going to happen. So I'm glad. Look, there are some major victories for them during COVID. They learned a lot about us, about what we'll do, what we won't do, where our pressure points are. But they spent that. They spent that bullet of pandemic. I don't think they can run that one back. I hope they try. Actually, it's my desire that they try COVID-2 electric boogaloo, because it's going to fail, because people are, there's enough of the people that know that it's bullshit, that they're and were damaged by vaccines the first time around, that they're not going to make that second mistake. So it's going to be a problem for them to try and launch that. And I hope they do it, because if that fails, then it's just more difficult for them they lose credibility. It's tougher for people to listen. They're just the boys who cried wolf yet again. And a new generation, we're never going to believe them either way, but a new generation of people who are now awake to that because of COVID, they're going to go, get the fuck out of here with your monkeypox. We're not doing monkeypox. Monkeypox is what you brought. Okay. Like when they tried that and everyone was like, they're like, it's monkeypox, but we don't mean anything racial about it. And everyone was like, we never said you did. Why are you guys telling on yourselves like that, you racist scumbags? So like they've had some failures, and I hope they continue. I hope hantavirus is one of those that's like, all of a sudden people started digging into the origins of the etymology of the word, and finally like, oh, in Hebrew it means fiction or fake or something, and you're like, great, we have a fake virus that's in Hebrew is called fake virus. Perfect. And it's delivered by rats. Oh, so the Hebrews with the fake virus, the rats are going to pass it. Got it. Yeah. Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh, this is all normal. Great. So I kind of hope they try that, because it's so monkeypox-ish that you go, keep going, guys. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. No, go with Hunter. You're doing fine. You're doing great. Everybody's really scared of the rat virus that nobody's ever gotten. Nobody gives a shit about. Summer. We're out on you can't launch that in summer. Yeah. You got to do that in the winter when you get when it's viral load and it's all that stuff. You're going to try and launch hantavirus in summer. It's white boy summer. We're all out there in our Daisy Dukes. We don't have time for hantavirus. Didn't you get the memo? We're not doing this anymore. So anyway, I don't know. I hope they try. I hope they fail. I hope they're exposed even more, because like we said, making them, laughing at them, mocking them, showing the world how incompetent they are. That's how you win. That's where you can't take orders from somebody you find incompetent or laughable. It's hard. Like somebody who scares the shit out of you, that's a different story. But if you laugh at them, it's harder to take orders from them in the future.
Yeah. One thing that it does look like they're going all in on is UFO disclosure. What is behind it, where it'll ultimately lead us, I don't know. They are definitely trying to keep control of the narrative. I think that the missing and dead scientists are alluding to that. They knew something that if came out, it could ruin what they're trying to portray is really behind this UFO narrative. I don't think extraterrestrials or little green men are coming from different planets to stick things in our butts and play with our balls, but I don't know what is behind. I have more questions than I ever had about UFOs and extraterrestrials, but if my government is telling me that it's real and giving me a certain narrative, I'm going to look the other way.
I want disclosure, but I want it on my terms. I'm picky
Yeah.
about who gives it to me. The government's going to disclose it to me. Now, so I guess on the one hand, the response is, well, who would be in a position to know? Be the government. Who I want disclosure from, if I'm looking for a more credible source, would be the military industrial complex companies that took the technology and privatized it. If Skunk Works came forward and said, we've got this, this, and this, I'd listen to them. If Donald Trump tells me what we've got, I'm sorry. He's told me too many things that are bullshit. But, Ben Rich, kind of the former chief of Skunk Works, let it slip after a presentation he did at UCLA back in the mid 90s. He's talking to these guys saying, we already have the technology to take ET home.
Yeah.
It won't take a lifetime to do it. So they're talking about the things that they've got, and so I think there is a place for disclosure, and I think we need disclosure, but you need to be very, very mindful of who is disclosing the information and what exactly they're disclosing too. Lou Elizondo is not a whistleblower. He's just not. He's a CIA asset. He's the Sean Ryan of UFOs. So that's not somebody that you can listen to. There's a lot of people that get given what they think are like little like gold nuggets of of information from their sources. There's a lot of bullshit. And I think as long as they keep you focused on little green men, then that's right where they want arguing. Is it an insectoid or is it a mantis?
What's also interesting, it seems there's two different factions within government that are giving us different angles of the possibilities. Some are saying, yes, it's little green, highly advanced men coming from different planets. There's another faction that are saying that these are demons and demonic forces, and we need to stay away from everything. So it's interesting that they are pushing both narratives from our own government. Does that mean that we can't trust any of those?
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, I wouldn't trust any of them anyway. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get my demon information from Representative Paula Luna, ex-stripper. Right. Who's Benjamin Netanyahu's buddy. She's going to tell me, don't talk to them. The spiritual entities that you see, they're all demons. Okay, ding dong. Don't get your information from her. That's for sure. About demons. Frankly, I don't know who to get your information on demons from, but not her. That I do know. I think there's a lot of disinformation. I think, again, if they can get you talking, arguing about, is it demons or is it grays, then what you're not talking about is it interdimensional? Are we able to slip in and out of things? Are these people from the past? Is there some technology that's allowing us to see things in the future and the past and things like that? Like, if we get into the dimensional talk, does that start to give away some of the secret technology that the CIA has? And they certainly don't want to. So they make a calculation. Okay, again, we'll break off a little piece of this and let them argue about that. Green men or grays. And meanwhile, they're not discussing interdimensional. They're not talking about quantum computers and Geordie Rose, talking about opening up parallel dimensions and dragging back information from entities on the other side, things like that. I mean, you're not talking about that, the transhumanist component that I think is communicating with these dangerous technocrats. You're not talking about that. You're instead focused on the Area 51 side of things. Maybe they give up Area 51 and say, you focus on the physical spaceship side of stuff. We'll focus on the interdimensional computer chip side of things, and that's where we really want to be. That's where the goodies are. That's where all the valuable information is. We got to keep that aside. But maybe now is the time where we have to just give them the spaceships. We have to give them something. We keep the free energy for ourselves always. We don't want to blow up the oil paradigm, but we give them high-speed travel. We give them submersible travel, underwater submersibles that move really fast. I don't know. We give up
I'm thinking
something.
They are presenting us with the next unseen enemy so that daddy government can protect us from the aliens.
It's got to be an invisible enemy. I mean, there's always an invisible enemy. It's terrorists, or it's COVID, or it's hantavirus now. It's hantavirus season, Kristen. Didn't you still have your COVID flags up?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's all BS. They're talking about creating vaccines in the future that are just Wellcome Trust in the UK is talking about creating vaccines. They want a 100-day turnaround, but it's because they're just creating the vaccines out of computer code, and they send it to everybody as a computer code, and they basically print it up, and you go, okay, all right, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not taking any of them, but I'm certainly not. I don't want computer code vaccines rushed to market in 100 days, made by a company who's been in the eugenics industry for a century. Thank you. I'll sit that one out. Sounds like you guys are walking into a depopulation trap, but yeah. So there's it's a weird time where we're seeing mainstream disclosure, right? We've got movies coming out this summer. We have Spielberg's disclosure. So there's definitely a push for it. They're not preventing people from talking about it. There's the mainstream alternative media in the UFO world as well, the Stephen Greers and Lou Elizondos of the world, and all that. And they do the podcast circuit and everything associated with that. So I don't know. It feels like they're definitely prepping us. Of course, we know about the Werner von Braun quotes to Carol Rawson, his assistant, on his deathbed, right? That the last trick, the final card, the fake alien invasion, don't fall for the fake alien invasion. Okay, if you've got the legendary Nazi scientist telling me not to fall for the fake alien invasion, I'm at least going to take it under consideration, right? It's going to be in the back of my mind somewhere, like, hey, maybe they're faking this, because again, government exists because it needs to be relevant. And the only reason government is relevant is usually the main reason is when the people are scared. They need the government to fix things for them. So the government creates plenty of reasons to scare the shit out of the public so that they remain relevant. This has been a tactic of government for a long, long time. This is the reason why I speak at Anarchapulco. So if people can get straight with what their government is capable of doing to them, then I think a lot of this stuff maybe won't catch them off guard. I think one of the main things about COVID was that you first had to convince people that the government they were living under would do something like that to them. Like most people just thought that was impossible. Like your government is going to do this, this, and this. They're going to try and force vaccination. None of that is going to happen, right? That's it. You first had to break through that barrier with them, that their government would actually try to purposefully harm them. Yeah. Now a lot of people know that. So they need to be careful this next time around, or else if you fail to launch on the final invisible enemy, be that hantavirus or aliens in the sky, you better be prepared for the torches and pitchforks that will come your way, because you have squandered your credibility, what's left of it at least, and on the alien thing. We drag out the Werner von Braun quote, show it to you, and it's over, right? So maybe when it's all said and done, Chris, when we're old men, we'll look back on this and it will have been the best thing that could have ever happened, was that they tried to pull this they brought in the wrong people to try to sell the narrative. They brought in Donald Trump, who is a great carnival barker, and a snake oil salesman. But those guys do well because they have perceived credibility. He has no longer any credibility left. So I don't know if you want that guy to sell the alien invasion. Maybe it's 2028. We have that to look forward to. Maybe we'll do a show in 2028 when President Gavin Newsom, is announcing the alien invasion, and we'll be able to pull up this clip right here and say that we said it first in 2026.
If that's the guaranteed future, I will find the simulation reset button somewhere, and I will push that bitch.
Push that thing. Do humanity a favor and push that fucking button, Chris.
All right, man, this was fantastic. Any final thoughts closing out? And also remind everyone how they can get all of your sexy content.
Well, there's so much sexy content over at activistpost.com, don't you know? You could just find news. We republish outstanding articles from amazing journalists 10 times a day, every day. Go over there, bookmark Activist Post, get your news over there. And macroaggressions, we're still plugging away. We're 6 years in, and still putting out 2 episodes a week. So if you're interested, macroaggressions.io is the website, or you could just find macroaggressions wherever podcasts are served.
Excellent. Charlie, thank you so much. We'll be doing this again. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. See y'all then.
Watch Doors of Perception, now on Amazon Prime. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order. We live in an incredible age of information. More and more, we're discovering that we've been lied to and misled about much of our human history. Cory Hughes is providing profound revelations about World War I, World War II, the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King's assassination, and much, much more on his new Substack, Bloody History. Subscribe now for as little as $5 monthly. Just click that link right in the description to get started now and learn about our true history. Hello, friends. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order.